This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're taking a look at the tale of two iPhone 4S's. We have the AT&T version on the left and the Verizon version on the right. Now, hardware-wise, these phones are identical. Apple makes just one iPhone 4S, and it has cellular radios for both CDMA and GSM. That means GSM for AT&T, and for those overseas using GSM networks, their carriers there, and CDMA works on Verizon and Sprint. The only difference are which radios are activated. Obviously, by default, you're going to be using CDMA radios on the Verizon version as well as the Sprint version. You're going to use the GSM radios on the AT&T version. So what kind of difference is there? Well, you get the same exact software, same internals, same speed. Everything's the same. They're both available in black or white and in 16, 32, or 64 gig capacities. And they sell for the same price, $199 for the 16 gig, $299 for the 32 gig, and $399 for the 64 gig. In terms of plan pricing, AT&T and Verizon are pretty much neck and neck. They charge the same for 450 and 900 minute plans, and their data plans, well, Verizon starts out $5 more expensive for the lower volume data plans, say the 4 gig and the 2 gig, but when you go up to higher data rate plans, well, then they're $5 cheaper than AT&T and sometimes more. So it's pretty much a wash there. VZ Navigator is available for the Verizon version. That's turn-by-turn directions and maps, and that's $5 a month versus AT&T Navigator on the iPhone 4S, which is $10 a month for those of you who want to use those services rather than relying on the built-in Maps application or the third-party app of choice. So in the end, what it comes down to is which company do you prefer to do business with, and who gives you better service in your area, because coverage is based on service area. We're in Dallas, which pretty much counts as the West Coast in terms of service, and AT&T tends to have an edge on the West Coast, whereas Verizon has an edge on the East Coast in terms of service strength. You can see we're doing pretty well with both. We do have more bars on the AT&T version, but some of that has to do with CDMA technology and how towers are managed. They tend not to blast a signal from a single tower. You're always working with a pilot and a slave tower, so CDMA phones connect to more than one tower at a time. Let's take a look at data speeds first off. The big advantage here for the AT&T phone is it has HSPA plus 14.4, which AT&T has been calling 4G. That's really pushing it, but it's definitely faster than the old HSDPA phones that we saw. So that means that this has the same radio as something like the LG Thrill. And the theoretical max of that is obviously 14.4, whereas with this it says CDMA Rev A, which generally maxes out at around 2.5 megs, and you usually won't see that. On average, we see about a meg down on Verizon, less even on Sprint. They couldn't get us a phone for this comparison in time, unfortunately, but Verizon about a meg, and with AT&T we've been averaging 3.5 megs. So let's take a look at popular speed test on that application for both of these phones. And you can see the results that we've gotten here pretty consistently. 3, 3.5, sometimes you can see the high point there was 5.39. And here we've been averaging, around a meg or so, sometimes less. Upload speeds of 380K, 370K. Higher with this, looking at about just over a meg for upload speeds, and ping times are better on the AT&T version. Now this, regardless of where you are in the AT&T version, as long as you have AT&T service, is going to be faster. It's just the nature of the radios that are inside. So if you have a serious need for speed, you'll see an improvement in the iPhone 4S on AT&T if you're upgrading from the iPhone 4 or 3GS, where you're going to see the same network speeds on the Verizon version on the iPhone 4 versus the iPhone 4S. So chalk one up there for AT&T in terms of data download speeds. Both of them have the mobile hotspot feature, and that's where your data download speeds become even more important if you're using this guy as a wireless modem for your laptop or tablet, whatever you have. Next, we're going to take a look at how that works out in terms of page loading speed using Safari web browser, and we're going to switch to landscape mode for both of these. And now we have them poised to visit our website, mobiletechreview.com, and that's a full desktop HTML site. It's not a mobile site, so we'll get a real good idea of the speed. I'll try to hit these at the same time. And look at that. Despite the fact that AT&T has much faster faster empirical download speeds according to speedtest.net. Data downloads, they load the web pages just about the same time. So if tethering is not a real important thing to you, that Wi-Fi mobile hotspot right now, we've just seen that they're looking just about equal. Now we're going to try another website. And now for another test, we're going to go to the New York Times webpage. We're going to go to their non-mobile web page. And they're pretty much looking neck and neck right now. There you have it, just about identical. Isn't that interesting, given the faster empirical network speed on AT&T's network? So in terms of actual usage on the device when web browsing, there you go, they're the same. How about when downloading an application from iTunes? Now we're going to test straight download speeds using iTunes, and we're going to download Facebook onto both of these phones. That's a 9.5 meg application. And here we go. And so far, AT&T is in the lead here, which makes sense, given their faster downloads. It's already installed it. The Verizon phone is still working on it. It's about halfway done right now. Come on, Verizon. Well, you get the idea there. For straight downloads, if you're downloading stuff from the App Store or any other place, it's going to be faster on AT&T, assuming that you have good coverage. Now for our last test, we're in the trailers application. That's where you can see Apple's movie trailers, and we're going to watch the same trailer. I'll try to start these at exactly the same time. And Verizon gets the 1 second jump there at starting. Now the frame rates are good on both, and we're not seeing any buffering whatsoever. Turn them into landscape mode so you can see it better. And after the initial, somewhat quicker start from Verizon iPhone, they're both doing equally as well. We haven't seen any buffering whatsoever, and the frame rates are equal and good on both of them. Now here's one thing that might surprise you. If you want to unlock the phone, that is, use it as a GSM world phone roaming, Verizon might be your better pick. Well, first off, your best pick is to actually buy the unlocked iPhone 4S that Apple sells from their website, if that's all you want to do. But if you want a U.S. carrier but the ability to use whatever SIM card you wish overseas, Verizon has said that customers in good standing, and that means customers who've been with them for 60 days and paid bills on time, you can call them up and get an unlock code for your iPhone. AT&T says no way so far, so you're not going to be able to get this unlocked to use a different GSM SIM card in there. One thing to note, however, is the firmware in the CDMA iPhone blocks out using it on AT&T's network anyway, so don't buy a Verizon iPhone if you want to use it on AT&T, for example. And neither of these phones has T-Mobile's 3G bands. It only has AT&T and overseas 3G. And one more important thing to note is if AT&T would ever let you forget this, you've seen those commercials over the years since the Verizon version came out, given the technology that's used inside the AT&T version, you can make calls and use data simultaneously. So you want to look up something on a map while you're talking on the phone with somebody, you can do that. But on the Verizon version, no go. While you're in a phone call, you cannot use data. That doesn't mean that you can't be browsing the web, and as soon as the page loads, the data connection will pause, and then a phone call can come through. But if you want to actively use an internet-based application while you're on the phone, no go with Verizon. So there you have it. We've tested playing streaming video, straight download speeds using speedtest.net, web browsing speeds, and iTunes application download speeds. And AT&T really pulls ahead with the app downloads, but otherwise they're pretty much similar, making your decision even harder. And again, it really should be based on which company you want to do business with and who has better coverage in your area. In terms of call quality, the iPhone 4S on both carriers is a marked improvement over the iPhone 4. Really nice, full, clear voice for both incoming and outgoing calls. We do give the edge for a little bit more clarity and fullness to the AT&T version, but the iPhone 4S on Verizon's no slouch either. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Visit our website for the full review of the iPhone 4S.